Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Tuesday, February 18th. We return to trading today following the extended holiday weekend after markets ended Friday mixed. The Nasdaq was the day's only winner, adding 81 points or 0.41%. The S&P 500 closed nearly unchanged, down less than a half a point or 0.01%. The Dow gave up 165 points or 0.37%. Bill, let's get into this shortened week with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're actually trading higher. We're up 0.34%. This is where we've been all morning long. So, we're holding those gains, and that's kind of nice to see. I mean, the key factor is, the possibility of a peace accord that's going to come out of these U.S.-Russia discussions today that are occurring in Saudi Arabia. Now, Ukraine's not part of these discussions, and they're saying no peace unless, we're part of the discussions. But it's interesting that, that the U.S. is holding these talks with just Russia alone. But we'll wait and see what comes out of it. I mean, last week we were moving on tariff news. Tariff news was all the big, was the big news item. But I got to tell you, that's really on the back burner this week, and I don't see that really coming back for another month. Those reports aren't due until April 1st. So, I'm not really worried about the tariff talk, affecting the markets this week. Earnings, hey, we got a couple earnings coming out, after the bell today. We got ANET, Arista Networks, Occidental Petroleum, OXY, International Flavors and Fragrances, ticker IFF, Toll Brothers, TOL, and Shift4 Payments, FOUR. And then tomorrow morning, you got ADI, Wingstop, WING, Etsy, ETSY, and WIX all releasing tomorrow morning. So that should be interesting. There's some takeover speculation in Intel that's causing the shares to move a little higher this morning, which is positive. Johnson & Johnson, that trial is going to start getting underway today. This is another effort for them to kind of get out of the talcum powder lawsuits. I see President Trump still in Mar-a-Lago today. He's going to sign an executive order apparently this afternoon around 4, but it's on public safety in Washington, D.C. So I don't think that's going to be a major catalyst for anything. But turn our attention to what's going on in Europe. I mean, Europe had a great, strong day yesterday, and today, markets were down. They were lower earlier this morning, but they have since turned green. You got the DAX higher by 25 points, or 0.11%. I mean, that ZOO indicator of economic sentiments for Germany, I mean, it was expected to come in with a reading of 20, and it came in with a reading of 26. So, that's positive. The FTSE ticker the FTSE, I mean, it jumped. It's higher by 16 points, or 0.18%. Markets are kind of pricing at the latest jobs and earnings data out of London. In France, I mean, France has seen 6 straight session of gains, and it could be on its 7th. The CAC is trading higher by 19 points, or 0.24%. And they're really paying attention to those Russian-Ukraine peace talks. In France, President Macron is actually having his own European security conference going on today. They're looking to create a joint European task force for defense. And then we're turning our attention over to Asia last night, and the Nikkei moved higher by 96 points, or about 0.25%. The big story was that Honda indicated that they would reconsider merger talks with Nissan, provided the CEO of Nissan steps down. Hong Kong climbed. It climbed 1.59% overnight. The markets were positive. Tech was strong. I mean, Chinese President Xi, he met with several tech leaders yesterday, and he was really saying, "Listen, let's keep our pedal to the metal." So yeah, that's kind of positive for tech stocks. In China, the Shanghai market, fell 0.93%. Consumption and media stocks were weak, but tech was higher. But President Xi did, support the private sector. So I mean, I look at that as a little profit taking occurring. But it wasn't over. I think it was still positive for tech Chinese markets. And now we're taking a look at oil, and oil is trade mix this morning. It was higher, but it's since started to pull back. You got WTI, which is higher by 50 cents a barrel, trading at $71.17 cents a barrel. Brent, on the other hand, is flat to lower. It's at $75.15 a barrel. On Monday, Russia's deputy prime minister indicated that OPEC has not yet had discussions about delaying the oil production quotas, which are, set to take effect in April. And then Ukraine drones struck a major pumping station of a pipeline in southern Russia, disrupting the crude oil flows from Kazakhstan. So, I mean, the Brent is lower, but the WTI is higher. WTI markets were really trading yesterday, so the big divergence between the two isn't too surprising. On the day after U.S. holiday, but that's what I have for you in terms of a morning markets update report, Emily.
And Bill, I've said this before, we're coming back to our desks here and getting ready for trading after an extended holiday weekend. And while some of us are still trying to figure out what to look for in the day and week ahead, you're already set. You have a good handle on everything that's not just happening today, but what to look ahead throughout the week. And that's because you have your newsware and you're able to gather all of that information quickly. And one of those areas that you told us during your opening is earnings action. So let's start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings?
Well, again, we're going to start off with Baidu, the Chinese tech stock. I mean, listen, they did report, a nice beat on their EPS, but the revenues did fall. And you look at Baidu this morning; it's trading lower by 3.35%. MDT, which is Medtronics, they beat by 4 cents, but it was done on lower revenue. MDT is trading lower this morning by 4.37%. Then we got GPC, Grace Paul Charlie. This is Genuine Parts. Stocks trading higher. It's up 1.42% this morning. They beat by 6 cents. They did it on higher revenue. All in all, not a bad report. Upcoming this afternoon, we have Arista Networks after the bell, ticker ANET, Apple, Nancy, Edward, Tom. Their EPS is 57 cents. Expected move is 11.14%. Then we got FOUR, Frank Oscar Uncle Richard, Shift4 Payments. Their EPS is $1.16 and expected move is 10.80%. And then Occidental Petroleum, OXY. Oscar X-Ray Yellow. Their earnings are coming out there after the bell. Their EPS is 67 cents with the expected move of 4.99% when they release this afternoon, Emily.
And Bill, you're not only watching that earnings section, you're also watching economic events. And as many of us are trying to put together the pieces of the puzzle, the overall health of the economy, and gathering clues on what the Fed may do next, given the economic climate and the political climate, keeping track of these reports and Fed speak day in and day out becomes important. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
8:30 a.m., 1 hour before the opening bell, we get the Empire State Manufacturing Index. 10 a.m., you get a housing index data. 10:20 today, we'll say that, San Francisco Fed Bank President Mary Daly, she's going to be giving a speech. But yesterday, we heard from Fed Governor Christopher Waller, who spoke. And he indicated that the Fed made the right call to hold rates steady in January, given the recent, price increases. But he still believes the Fed's policy stance is restraining the economy, and that more cuts would be the right move if inflation upticks passes. So he's hoping that the inflation stops growing. That could happen, in the late spring, early summer. But he seems to be positive for more rate cuts, so that's kind of positive for the markets this morning, Emily.
Bill, that's a perfect example of how you're using your newsware to gather information. Not only are you aware of what kind of Fed speaks coming up today and throughout the week, you also have that information on hand on what happened yesterday. And those are clues on how the market may be reacting to these indicators today. The other areas that you look at are things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You're able to look at catalyst calls, and you also follow your stocks group together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks, all using your newsware, breaking it down into alerts, and you're gathering this information at a snap. So, Bill, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets today?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of green. I mean, I'm looking at my Dow stocks, doing a data check. I'm showing 20 higher, 10 lower on the Dow, and then I look at my FANG stocks; they're all showing green. That indicates to me, positive action going into for the S&Ps this morning. So, we're keeping an eye on that, and S&Ps are now up 0.41%. So that's good to see. Couple of news behind the headlines. Apple, they plan to boost their interest in Vision Pro with AI features. I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, the Vision Pro, the issue with the Vision Pro is it's 4 times more expensive than Meta's. So that they're really, really behind the curve. You can add some AI features. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Amazon workers in North Carolina reject the union representation. Meta, those Meta glasses that they have, they're considered to be a life-enhancing tool for the blind. They weren't designed that way, but that's what it's turning out to be. Some news on Tesla. They're expecting a delay in Chinese autonomous driving license software that they have. Don't be surprised if Chinese delay that decision. That shouldn't be shocking to you. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, we're talking Boeing. British Airways is acquiring Boeing's Gatwick MRO hangar facility. Sherwin-Williams, SHW, they're going to be acquiring BASF's Brazilian architectural paints business for $1.15 billion in cash. That's interesting. Turns of merger news. Honda indicates it's willing to reconsider merger talks with Nissan if the Nissan CEO steps down. He's battling that board. The Nissan board and him are apparently not getting along. Intel, INTC, takeover chatter continues. Broadcom has an interest in their chip design business. TSM has an interest in their factories. A lot of things have to come together for a deal like that to come together. So I'm not really positive on it, but I'm not going to discount it either. Ticker GME, Grace Michael Edward, GameStop's looking to sell its Canadian and French operations. In terms of shareholders meetings today, Jacobs, ticker J, they're having an investor state today. It starts at 3 p.m. Capri Holdings is holding an investor state tomorrow. In terms of buyback news, EXTR, Extreme Networks, Edward, X-Ray, Tom, Richard, they announced a 200 million share repurchasing plan. And Valmont, ticker VMI, Victor Michael India, their board approved the 700 million share repurchasing plan. Catalyst calls, Iron Mountain, ticker IRM, India, Richard Michael. JP Morgan lowered the price target, but they placed the stock on a positive catalyst watch list, and that's really due to Elon Musk and the Doge team. So it's kind of interesting. That's what I have for you about news in the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk Pick of the Day. Bill, what do you have to kick off this week?
I'm going to go with Shift 4 Payments, FOUR, Frank, Oscar, Uncle Richard. Earnings are out after the bell. EPS is $1.16. Expected move is 10.80%. Now, you look at Friday in the call volume, it was 1,643 against puts of 706. I mean, that's more than 2 to 1. Call open interest, 17,554 versus 6,746. Again, more than 2 to 1. I mean, the brokers are raising price targets. In fact, one of the major brokers has given it the 2 price target raises this quarter. So I like to see that. So, Shift 4 Payments, ticker FOUR. I like it, but I want to get in at a good price. I'm hoping to get in, 122 area. I mean, that's kind of my target price. We'll have to, it's possible if I get in under 122, that would be a bonus. But that's my pick of the day. Shift 4 Payments, ticker FOUR.
We'll follow that one along with you today ahead of that earnings report. And coming up, we will do a recap on Friday's pick of the day. They did release earnings this morning, and we're going to see how that call worked out before we close out the show. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Ticker TWIN. Twin Disc completes its acquisition of Cobalt for $16.5 million. Paramount Global, ticker PARI, and Everpass Media enter a multi-year distribution agreement. RIG, ticker RIG, that's Transocean. They announced the CEO succession plan. Wells Fargo did a lot of upticks on price target raises on financial stocks this morning. Visa has their investor stay on Thursday. Johnson & Johnson begins their crucial battle over that $10 billion baby powder settlement lawsuit that starts today. Delta plane flipped upside down at the Toronto airport yesterday, causing the stock to show weakness today. Southwest Airlines ticker LUV, they're going to be cutting 15% of corporate jobs as part of a cost savings plan. Berkshire Hathaway, I noticed SEC filing, they sold their entire stake, the rest of their stake in, what was it, Lululemon that they had? No, Ultra Beauty, ULTA. They sold their remaining stake in Ultra Beauty, ULTA. Stock's trading lower, it's down like $3 last I saw. Uber Technologies has filed a lawsuit against DoorDash, accusing the online delivery firm of anti-competitive practices. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading today, let's do that check-in on Friday's pick of the day before the extended holiday weekend, which was Fluor. They did release earnings this morning. They reported a Q4 EPS of 48 cents. That was 30 cents worse than the analyst estimates. Revenue for the quarter came in at $4.26 billion versus the consensus of $4.48 billion. Yet, even though that wasn't the most positive report, Fluor did swing to a profit after revenue rose in the fourth quarter. So a little bit of a light there in that report. They do see full year 2022 EPS of $2.25, $2.75, and that's versus the consensus of $2.95. However, the company did say they're not providing forward-looking guidance for U.S. GAAP net earnings, U.S. GAAP earnings per share, or quantitative reconciliation of adjusted EBITDA or adjusted EPS guidance. And it's really given, uncertain climate out there. Lastly, Fluor did appoint their COO as CEO, and that will be effective May 1st. Bill, there is a lot going on in that report. You're trying to make this call on Friday ahead of a long weekend. How did your call work out?
It didn't work out. It was a miss. No way to sugarcoat this one. I mean, the stock opened up at 45.07. It did run up to 45.31, but it closed at 43.41. I mean, the call volumes still look good. I mean, but I really didn't expect there going to be any issues with the guidance. And then this guy, says, "Oh, I'm not issuing guidance." I mean, he's taken over May 1, and he's saying that he wants a clean slate. So he's going to be, knocking off anything that's ugly on their balance sheet in the first quarter. So Fluor, FLR, it was a miss on Friday. It was a miss, Emily.
A miss there, Bill, but as you say, we live to trade another day today, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Shift 4 Payments pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.